The Friends of the Mining and Rollo Jameson Museums.
Our parents are Wes and Gail Kopp, and they, along with the Daniels, they went out when the museum was just a thought that we could move it to Platteville from B-Town. And we also got to go out and meet Rollo in B-Town and see the trailer where he lived and see the barn where he kept all his treasures and hear some of his stories. And so our parents and the Daniels really worked to spearhead in the community to get a referendum passed so that the museum could accept Rollo's gift of transferring all of his collection here. And he really wanted that collection to come here to Platteville. It seemed to really get a lot of people excited and involved, and the first year that we had the Heritage Days, there was a parade, and Keely actually was in the parade. They had people dress in kind of period costumes, and they had some of the different wagons in the parade, so that was pretty cool and pretty exciting. I think people really enjoyed that. And then the first Heritage Day celebration, actually I'm not sure if it was Heritage Day on July 4th or when, but when the museum had its grand opening, which I think was July 4th. I'm not sure. But Rollo actually was able to come here. His health wasn't that good at the time, and he was actually at the VA hospital in Madison, and was just really touched by all the people that were here and just how wonderfully everything had come together here at the museum. And I actually, along with my mom and my grandma, we drove Rollo back to the VA that night, and he was he just couldn't get over how everything had gone, and that his collection was here and had a permanent home. And he was just really proud of that fact that we had taken that Platteville had decided to take his collection and give it the home here that it has. I do remember that it was a really big community effort just to get the whole collection moved.
I remember helping move.
Yeah.
I also went to one of the city council meetings, and I remember speaking and saying something to the effect that if we don't preserve our history, what do we learn from? Because the council, if I remember right, was one of our biggest things that we had to get past.
There were a lot of businesses that first year, or the first couple of years, that really came forward and supported the museum, and that was really a huge part, I think, of both, raising the funds from the businesses, but also getting people to become interested in it because they saw businesses supporting it. So I think that helped a lot in drawing attention. I'm proud of Platteville being my hometown. I'm proud of it for supporting and continuing to have the museum here. The Daniels somehow were the ones that first became aware of Rollo. They were trying to raise interest and get other people involved. And I think people in the area, and Daniels in particular, knew that my parents were really interested in antiques and had a good collection of their own. And once anyone met Rollo, it was pretty hard not to get all caught up in his excitement and vision and just be,
in his world.
Yeah, and just, the collection, it meant everything for him, and the stories he could tell about it were just really exciting and interesting. And I think my parents, from the time they met him, were just captivated and had to get involved.
He was a storyteller, and I don't remember talking very much because you just listened to him tell all these stories, and you could listen for hours and not realize how much time had gone by. And he had so much knowledge that went with him, which we're fortunate enough to have captured some of in video and whatnot.
And I kind of think part of what was really special for him is he really cared about his collection, But what made his collection mean something to him were the stories that went with it and the people. I mean, he was really a person who loved people, and as much as anything, keeping the artifacts was part of keeping that history of different people alive. And it was just really personal to him. Everything he had was very personal to him. When the idea of Heritage Days came to be and they wanted to do demonstrations, I think it was just sort of a natural thing that my dad, who liked to do woodworking, picked the jigsaw as something that he could do a demonstration for. And he also really liked people, and he really enjoyed having kids be interested in the saw and watching him, and he could also kind of tease them a little bit. Some of the kids, one of his classic things was he would take the scrap wood after he cut something out, and certain kids he knew he could get away with doing that, and he would hand that to them and be like, oh, is this what you wanted? And usually get a laugh, and then give them the actual cutout. But I think it was just something that he felt was a good demonstration, where you could actually see how the saw was working, and he could do something to begin with. He cut the whole pieces out, and over the years he started pre-cutting some of it, so there wasn't as much to cut, because he would have a huge line. I think they would still stand in line and wait for it, but it was just something that was while it's not hands-on, you could really see exactly what was happening and watch the blade going up and down. We always were here with him throughout the day. He liked to have an audience of his family. So we usually were here, and it was always fun just to watch all the kids and adults that came and watched him, and to hear about people that came year after year and were collecting his cutouts. So this is just some information on the saw. It's really, we always refer to it as a pedal-powered jigsaw. It's really more a scroll saw. And this is an ad from the magazine where you could order it, which was the W.F. and John Barnes Company. And the saw is from around 1895. That's about when we think that this saw was probably made, somewhere in that range. Woodpecker got added. It also made it really clear that was what was driving the whole up and down of the saw. That helped people maybe to kind of see where the motion was coming from, and that it was, when our mom was alive, she would always be a big part of helping him decide what his cutout was going to be that year. And there's a lot of effort even in just to preparing, because you have to trace out the shape on hundreds of times over, and I don't know if she had a part in the woodpecker, or it was just Dad's idea to put that up there, but I think it was probably just his. Well, the woodpecker was just something he thought was cute and fun. And then he did, I don't know if you can see, there's a tube that goes up here, and then it comes down to a little brass tube on the end of the, just above where the blade is. And he put that on because he had started to get really tired of having to blow sawdust away all the time, and he'd also have to stop to do it. So he put that on, and that little bit of air, it's got the baster kind of thing, the bulb, which I think it's a battery bulb is actually what he used. So that generates air through the tube, and he did make this little section that can be kind of like a vice grip that it goes on there, and then it blows the sawdust away. Kind of ingenious. He would be here today if he could be. It was just it was one of the highlights of his year. Every year he looked forward to it. Like I said, that was the thing that really motivated him after he had his cancer surgery, that he wanted to be here that day. He wasn't going to miss it. He liked, so he had a hat that he liked to wear, and that hat actually So my mom's father came from Switzerland. And one of the times my mom went back to visit her relatives in Switzerland, my dad wanted to get like a farmer's hat, like a mountain hat. And so that hat that he would wear here was actually a hat that was from Switzerland. But somehow he thought that that fit in with the whole, old-fashioned and, yeah.
Yeah. And then it was a little warm.
Yeah. it
So
did
on
get
the
warm.
hot years, and then as he aged, he started wearing more of a USA and a ball cap with United States on it.
And I remember her doing a lot of work to get memberships and going around and talking to businesses. And she also, as the board secretary, she kept a lot of notes. She actually got to bring home a computer to work on, to keep the notes for the museum, which was kind of a cool thing that I remember. It was like, oh, we had a computer. I mean, everybody didn't have a computer at home back then. And so she also had to learn to use a computer. But I think that was the big thing for her was helping to keep the records and then really working to spread the word and get people excited about the museum and to help. I think she especially went around to a lot of businesses to try and get them to have a membership for the museum. What else would you say?
She did a lot of the touring, helped with the tours.
Yep. She did a lot of cleaning
Yep.
of things. A lot of things were, needed to be cleaned, especially when the collection first got here, and just organizing. I think she spent quite a bit of time up on the 3rd floor.
Yep.
Helping to organize things and to kind of put things away. Today actually is the 12 years since she passed away, so she's really been gone for a long time already. But on Heritage Day, she would be here at the museum, helping out with whatever she might need to help out with. But a lot of her role was staying around by Dad as he did the demonstration and talking to people and making sure he drank some water or something like that, because he would tend to not always think to do that. So but I think she was kind of a little involved in a lot of things.
These are note cards that have been here since the beginning that I drew. They're pen and ink, and they were used to help as a fundraiser in the gift shop.
I do.
Yeah.
I think of the museum and I think of our family, and the Daniels family. I think it was important to my brother and sister and I, but I think because it was so important to our parents that it's just something that seems like it's part of our family.
It continues to be a big part of our family, going through, and then even with the Daniels and us being connected, we come back every year and we look forward to seeing Patrick's here now doing it, and his daughter now seems to be coming with him as well and participating, and so it continues to be part of our families. And then whoever was standing on the little stool would get to take it with them.
You know,
And it had to be a child. No
Yeah.
adults
Yep.
got to take one. And actually how we came up with the duck was, Dad for some reason decided he wanted one of the little rubber duckies. And then he saw it at Walmart one day in his bathroom and it sat on his bathtub. So I think I saw that and kind of said, what if you did a rubber ducky?
Yeah, he really enjoyed it. I mean, it was,
A labor of love.
yeah, I mean, it really was. He would look forward, I think especially as he got older, it was something he looked forward to all year long, was coming here. He just really loved doing that and having kids be interested and they were so thrilled. You know, some people would think maybe kids wouldn't care about a little wooden cutout, but they would really be, a lot of the kids were just thrilled for it. And they'd come back year after year, or maybe they'd be older, and when they came back, they'd just come and watch him and say, oh, I always loved to
Or
get it.
their
Or
kids.
yeah, or they were bringing their kids now, or they'd be like, yeah, I can still remember I had those all up on my shelf in my room when I was growing up. And
I like seeing kids every year. You never know. Are we going to have a great turnout this year? Is it going to just be mediocre? How many kids are going to come? And I'm amazed at how many new kids every year
Yeah.
come and are fascinated by anything going on here. I never walk through here feeling like a tourist or visiting. It just seems like, well, this is part of me.
there's a lot of people that would never be able to maybe come here or wouldn't know about it or be interested until they see a picture of something and they're like, oh, I mean, like, that's something that I'm really interested in, or I didn't know they had that there. So I think it's really neat to see how social media and new technology can help bring, sort of keep what's here in front of people and bring a different audience to it, bring it to people differently.
We're very happy to continue the heritage
And I hope,
virtually.
I hope you're at least enjoying not being so hot outside and being bitten by mosquitoes, that sort of thing. That's kind of a bonus.
Come see us next year.
And I think enjoy the virtual Heritage Days and keep interested in history and how it can play a part in the future too.